Prodigy е бенд кој го измени ликот на светската музичка сцена и успеа да го позиционира брейкбитот и бигбитот во рамки на комерцијалната култура. Легендарните 3 албуми од почетокот на кариерата, The Experience, Music for a Jilted Generation и Fat of the Land, ја збогатија сликата на синтетичката музика со панк и рок влијанија. Хитовите на Prodigy, Charlie, No Good, Voodoo People, Poison, Breed, Firestarter ќе останат забележани во историјата на електронската музика како дел од највлијателните електронски номери. Последниот албум на бендот, Always Outnumbered, Never Outgunned, издаден во 2004, двој од нивните претходни албумски изданија, пред се поради гостувањата на раперот Cool Kid, легендарниот Liam Gallagher и Juliette Lewis. Насоката на развој на Prodigy е резултат на музичката креативност на Liam Howlett. Иако е најмалку експониран, тој е централен лик во бендот. Интервјуто го започнавме со причините и мотивот за изработка на албум со поинаков звук и соработка со други музичари.
With that record, I wanted to take the whole Prodigy thing back down to kind of a level where we started originally, which was kind of like sample music and kind of more of a DJ aspect. And the reason for doing that was because I feel like we didn't want to kind of repeat ourselves after Fat of the Land, and I felt like everything needed to just come back down to a street level again so we could kind of start again. So it was kind of like a reset for the whole band, and it worked. I mean, the album was out a year and a half ago, and we're all back together, and we're kind of touring, and we've already started our brand new album. So when people talk about Always Outnumbered, to us it's old now because it's a year and a half old. I wrote that album 2 years ago, you know.
На овој албум не беа вклучени Kid Flint и Максим Reality, двајца од членовите на триото Prodigy.
They were involved spiritually. Prodigy се познати по живите настапи. Нивните концерти се извонредно моќни и жестоки, што е нетипично за лајф ектовите на електронските бендови. Разбравме дека поради начинот на изработка на музиката од последниот албум Always Outnumbered, кој е создаден на лаптоп, на концертните настапи Prodigy не се во состојба да отсвира дел од материјалот од овој проект. With any album, we've always kind of picked the best tracks. I mean, an album is made up of lots of different things, you know. An album is like a journey, and not every track is suitable anyway, even on Fat of the Land, you know, we didn't play every track.
That has been a fun process, you know, and that's been good for us all, you know, because it's just the energy that creates for the band and for the people in the band. You know, that's really precious, and it puts the band where it's at now, hungry, you know, excited about writing other tracks and, you know, another album.
Помеѓу албумот Fat of the Land од 97-ма, кој на Prodigy им донесе огромна популарност и поддршка од највлијателните музички канали и магазини, и албумот Always Outnumbered, Never Outgunned, кој бендот го оддалечи од врвот на популарноста, мина 7 години. Во меѓувреме Prodigy издадоа еден сингл, Baby's Got a Temper, кој спротивно на сите предвидувања пројде многу лошо. Тоа издание беше најлошиот чекор во кариерата на овој британски бенд.
It wasn't actually 7 years because we were on tour till we were more or less on tour like the whole time. Even 2002, we stopped doing so many shows, but I think, yeah, I mean, basically, like me personally, I reached the point where the gigs have overtaken the recording, you know, so we were all thinking, where's the new music? But I was like, well, we're on tour all the time, so there's no time to write songs. So I'd basically thought it's time for me to just stop doing that for a bit and concentrate on writing music. So I went back into the studio and just wasn't really liking what I was writing, and just that whole recording was about 2002. I think we recorded Baby's Got a Temper in that time, and that kind of reflected just the kind of, I don't believe we were hungry at that stage, do you know what I mean? It reflected in the song. The song was very lazy, kind of lack of energy. I think definitely got complacent in a way, do you know what I mean?
We felt that we needed to stop really and kind of go back to the drawing board. You know, we weren't firing. We like, when we're doing shows, we like to fire 110%. you know, and we weren't firing 110%, you know. So I think the last show we did was in Reading, wasn't it, in 2003, and that's when we realised it kind of we needed to, you know, we were doing it for the wrong reasons.
I think there's nothing sadder than watching like somebody who was like a heavyweight champion boxer who hasn't trained because he thinks he's like still at the top of the world, and he comes back for his world title fight and he's not hungry and he's not got the fire, and he gets smashed around all over the place, and that's quite sad to watch that happen. You watch something crumble, so that's never wasn't going to and won't ever happen to us.
Во последниве 3 години, Prodigy се соочија со многу негативни критики и лоши оцени за нивната музика. Последниот албум на Prodigy понуди многу малку и направи овој бенд да биде неинтересен за поголемиот дел од публиката. Како влијаат ваквите критики врз работата на овој бенд?
Even from day one, from when we released our first record, there's always people that don't like it and always people that do like it. But we just don't care.
Coming to places, you know, like we going to Belgrade yesterday and seeing the crowd, the reaction the crowd gives to us. That's everything. You know, so when someone comes along and they've never even seen the band before and they just watch us one performance and they've got their own views on music and write a bad review, that doesn't affect us.
Me personally, I never read anything, never read any review. No, I mean that truly. Truly, not a thing ever, not anything. Even if someone told me they were writing just about me and how wicked I was and I was the best thing on the planet, I still wouldn't read it. So it doesn't matter if it's good or bad, just don't read it, because it's nothing. It's one person it's what one person thinks. You know what I mean? So for me, it's like I only want to go away with what I can only understand what I've seen and tasted and know and what I've been involved with. And that's it. I mean, the worst critic for me is myself, you know, and that's it.
Prodigy формирани во 90-тата се синоним за рев сцената, но немаат афинитет ниту симпатии кон сите форми на електронскиот звук, пред се кон хаус музиката.
I don't like house music. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't. I like music to be sex, dirt, you know, kind of raw. House music hasn't got any. It's not dangerous. Hasn't got anything like that in it.
There's always an opinion that if you make electronic music, or so to speak, electronic music, you have to like house music.
Yes.
Do you know? It's rubbish.
Like house music. We feel like we've always been the outsiders of dance music. Do you know what I mean? Dance music's made up of all different styles. Like you say, jungle, breakbeat, you know, whatever. And we've just always dipped into the bits we like. Do you know what I mean? And the first album was pure English rave style. Do you know what I mean? When we first started, the second record was really, for me, like quite an original album. Do you know what I mean? That was us kind of. You couldn't put a category on that. There was lots of different styles on the album, but you couldn't say this album is that. You know, it really was us, you know, kind of branching out and trying to create something original. We brought a lot of guitars into the music, and before that hadn't really happened. You know, guitar and electronic music hadn't come together in the same way, you know. So we feel like we were definitely one of the bands that kind of brought that whole thing together.
Chapter fucking 2. Live. Go. Oh. Put time under pressure. You know, limits our treasure.
I mean, we write music which has energy. Do you know what I mean? That's what we're into. Do you know what I mean? Whether it's kind of, you know, it just so happens the music we write is on electronic equipment. Do you know what I mean? But I mean, yeah, you're right. The last record was maybe a bit more electro influenced, but I mean, the next record will be something else. Do you know what I mean?
Диџеите се на пиедестал во светот на денс музиката и некои од нив за двочасовен диџејски сет наплатуваат повеќе од бендовите. Лиам смета дека ваквиот дисбаланс не води кон прогрес на електронскиот звук.
I used to DJ when I was 15, 16, and that was a way of me to get into music, do you know what I mean? And I think when we had the time off, you know, the kind of 3-4 year gap in between the album, around 2000 I DJ'd for about half a year. But to be honest, I respect DJs, but I've got no interest in DJs being put on these big pedestals above bands. They're just people who play other people's music. The band should be the people that are up there. And the whole of the electronic music scene is run by DJs, and that's why it will never move forward the same way as rock music, do you know what I mean, and hip hop. You know, because it's just, you know, what you do, you go to a club and it's just a DJ that plays other people's music. And for it to move forward, you have to put bands.
Prodigy до пред 5 години броеше 4 члена, а денес е трио. Од бендот замина Leroy, кој денес е фокусиран на диџејството.
Well, Leroy left the band in was it 2000? 1999. Yeah, 1999 I think he left. Basically he'd had enough of dancing, and we couldn't invent him a musical role. You know, Keith and Maxim do vocals, we have a guitarist, we have a drummer. Leroy isn't a drummer, he isn't a guitarist. There was no other musical roles for him to be in the band.
It was just a natural progression for the band, do you know what I mean? And also, in respect to Leroy, it was a natural progression for him, do you know what I mean? We kind of outgrew and kind of went a different way to what he was doing, and he concentrated on his DJing. And
sometimes DJs on our gigs, you know, he's a DJ now. So yeah, that's about it.
Everybody clap your hands!
Prodigy првпат настапија во Скопје на T-фестот во декември 95-та, во вистинскиот момент кога се етаблира како извонредно моќен бенд кој донесе нов бранд и поинаква енергија на подиумите. Лиам не се сеќава на нивниот прв скопски концерт, за разлика од Кит, кому силен впечаток му оставила музички едуцираната публика во Македонија.
We weren't expecting the people to quite understand us the way they did. We didn't realise that people were quite so behind the music, you know, and understood the band. And just the reaction was really good.
No one that won't follow.